What's up guys, today we'll be installing the BC Racing coilovers on the Nissan Cube Z12. So currently it has eye-buck lowering springs on it, but we actually want to go a little bit lower and get less of a gap between here. So this is what comes in the box. I actually forgot the manual at home, but you get the front and rears. The rears on the Cube are separate, and it also comes labeled, so we can get that to focus, front left and front right, and then these ones are just labeled rear. I'm going to start with the fronts because they should technically take the longest. Alright, so we have the car jacked up and on jack stands, and now we'll remove the wheels. So from below, we are looking at removing these two bolts here, this one right here, and then the rest we'll have to do from the top. So to start, you want to remove this clip right here, and basically that's just holding in this line. I've already loosened it, you just pull it out, and then you also have to remove these two little grommets right here. So that they're just holding in the lines as well. So just pull those out, and then just make sure that's out of the way when you are removing anything else. We have to remove the 3 bolts, so I'm going to start with this top one here. It's a 14mm. I've got a deep socket, so that's easy, and I'll just get rid of that. Nice and easy, and then just move that aside. Next, these 2 bolts here. To do these ones, you're going to need 2 sockets basically. These are 21mm, and then just get one on either side. Make sure your line's out of the way. Cool. So that's that top one loose. I'm going to leave it in just so it doesn't fall out, and then we'll get to the bottom one. So much easier with power tools too. So once we remove these, this is going to drop. So we'll just need to pull that out of the way. It shouldn't be too heavy. Cool. So that's ready to drop. Just move that out of the way so that you can see this one's just dangling by the top now. So the top of these are actually really annoying. There's 2 bolts just up here, but then there's also one tucked away in here. So I'll show you how to get that. You will need a long bar and potentially a magnet as well. So to get to that bolt, you actually have to remove some of the trim up the top. It does kind of slide out, but so basically slide that piece out. Also have another little spot here to pull out. And then basically there is this very, very small gap. I don't know if you can see that, but you have to stick something down there to unscrew it. So this is my jank setup. Pretty much all I got to work with, but it's an extender bar on an extender bar with a 13mm socket. That's for the size for these ones. I'd advise going for this difficult one first, otherwise it'll end up hanging from that one and it'll be a lot more difficult. So what I do is I have the socket, I have these really strong little magnets here. I should pretty much just try to put that in, and then I'll try to fish it out. So it's not impossible, but pretty annoying. So then you just got to get the other 2 out. So I will pull one out all the way, and then the other one I'll start to pull out, and then grab the strut on the bottom because it will drop after I pull it out. So we've got everything out. That's how it looks down there, and we'll just grab the front right and basically do the rest to put it back in. Here's a little side by side of these two. I'm gonna put it in at the default height and see how it sits. Then I can make my adjustments from there. Okay, so I just did what I should have done at the start, which was extend it roughly to the same height as the stock one. Because obviously this wasn't lining up, so I just extended it. Now that will go through. When installing the new one, you basically want to make sure that the top side, the R, is facing the actual right side of the car. I tried to put it in when it was at the back, but it didn't fit. So these two are the holes on the front side, so make sure you get that right. The last one's going to be difficult because it is in that hole, but we'll see if we can get that going. So I'm going to try put it in this way. So I got the magnet in just so I can get it seated on the top, and then I'll try get it to slightly thread, and then I'll pull the magnet off, and then we'll try thread it from there. Now we need to get these bolts back in and connect this all back up, and then we'll have to tighten everything down, and we'll finish the other side, and then we'll see where the heights are. Probably going to be a little easier if I use the jack to pull the bottom of this up. So don't forget to go back and tighten these two bolts down. We already tightened the inside one, but don't forget about these two. So wheels back on. Don't forget to put back the little pieces of trim that cover up that hole. I'll do that now, and then we'll head to the other side. Alright, so looking at the wheel well, I actually installed them the other day. The camera ran out of battery, so I just went ahead and did it just so I could show you a little easier. So this is the BC coilovers on the back. They are separate, but essentially what you want to do is with your coilover, you want to match the height to the rear stock strut. And then the same with these you can put at whatever height you want, but I put them at the longest just to start with. And they are still shorter than the lowering springs, but I'll show you how to do it anyway, because I'm going to adjust it because I forgot to put in the rubber on top of the springs. So it's actually really easy. It's only one bolt, but what you probably want to do is to get someone to help you a little later. but it's just this bolt here on the bottom of the strut. It's on the inside. You just need to undo that. It is quite tough. You might need some WD-40 or something to just help loosen it up. So it is a 17mm socket. 17mm should go on. Yep. Cool. So now that we got that bolt out, this is now dangling. I'll show you how to get that out. So you basically want to go in. So in the back here, you've got this little panel. What you want to do is pop that out. And then that is the top of your strut in here. So what we want to do, this would look like this. And you basically just need to use either, if you have 2 wrenches, you can use the wrenches. I'm not quite sure what the size, just use adjustable wrenches on this. And then you need to unscrew the top and this. And then once that comes out, it'll just drop out. And then to do the opposite to get it back in, you just push it up from the bottom, screw this nut on, and then they actually give you an Allen key. You use the Allen key on the top and then a wrench to tighten this. So once you put the new strut in, you can pop that back on, and then we head back to the outside of the car. And then you're basically left with this, except this spring will be your stock spring. This is where you'll need someone to probably help you out, because to get this out, when it's a stock spring, it's actually quite tight and snug in here. So you need someone to push down on the hub, or stand on the hub. I actually needed someone to stand. And then once you've got that, you kind of just push this down and then pull this out. So it's got rubber on the bottom, and then there is a rubber, basically this, on the top. So that sits in there like this. That's what I forgot to put on, so that's what I'm going to put back on now. But that would already be on there if this was the stock one. Okay, so what I actually just did is I removed both sides, the bolt from both struts at the same time, and then the subframe actually does drop down by itself, so it's a lot easier. You may still need help, or you can use a jack to push this back up and you need to reconnect it. But it's a lot easier if you do it this way. The springs will be a lot easier to get out rather than struggling and fighting with it. And then basically we're left, pull the springs out, and then you've got your new springs on the back. They look like this. So I've got the rubber stoppers now. It comes in 3 parts basically. You got your spring, and then this little seat on the top that covers, and then on top of that you have this. This is your adjustable height basically. You put that on top. Then you have your rubber seal, rubber on top. You basically squeeze that in, and then that whole thing will go back in and seat on there. But before I do that, I put them on the highest setting previously. I'm going to make them a little lower, maybe like 2 centimeters lower from the top, just so that it'll sit a little more flush on here. Not too flush so that it's going to ruin my fenders, but just a little bit lower. So to adjust this one, this sits on top of the spring. This is the top up here. So what you want to do is use the 2 wrenches supplied from BC to loosen these rings. The top one is the smaller one. You do that counterclockwise if you're looking from the top, and then the bottom one you go clockwise. So you pretty much just hook those in. Just gives you extra grip basically, and then like that, and then that loosens that top ring. And then once you've done that, you can literally just adjust the ring to the height you want, and then you use that bottom one to tighten and lock it up. And then as you can see, that'll be a little bit shorter by that much. But I advise, what I'll do is I'll set the height, have a look, and then measure the distance, and then match the other one so that it's the same. And I'll measure from the inside to the top of the inside. So I did say that I wanted this about 2 centimeters shorter. What I might do is just go 1.5 just to see where it sits. That way we don't go too low, but then I can always adjust it after that. So from 2.8 it would be 1.3, and we'll get it down there now. Cool. So you just spin that to adjust, and it is at a 1.3 now. So then what we do is you spin that bottom one to lock it up, and then it hits there. And then when you get there, you want to tighten it up. So what you can do is the opposite of what you did before. So you want to do that top one clockwise and the bottom one counterclockwise, and then I'll just tighten it up. Cool, nice and tight now. So then we can go ahead and reinstall the new spring that'll sit on top of there. And obviously that's going to go on the inside now, so it's not affecting anything. And then you cannot forget your rubber bushings, basically. Just stick that inside there, fits perfectly. So then what we'll do is we'll grab it. There's also that bottom one, that rubber in there. So you want to line the bottom of the spring up so it seats in there properly, and I'll show you how that looks. So this actually fits in a certain way. You can see that there's a lip here. That lip just goes in that little gap there. And then when you put the spring in, you just want to line it up so that it fits with that line, like that. Now if you spin it clockwise, it won't go anywhere. And then you want to put both sides in, so both springs, and then you lift up the subframe and line it up with the top up there. So if you get to this point and you've gone lower than this, you might find that the bolt wouldn't line up here. So that's where the adjustable strut comes into play. You can loosen this ring here like we did with those ones, and loosen it up, spin the actual body, and it'll slowly go and make it shorter, and just get it to the point where it lines up when this is tight. So to adjust this one, we need to use the little wrench supplied, that's the black one. Just hook it over, hold the body, and then counterclockwise, loosen that up, and that's where you adjust it to where you want it to fit, and spin the actual bottom of the body to raise or lower. So you'll be able to see it thread. Currently I'm loosening it just to give you an example, but you'll see the gap. So you spin bottom counterclockwise to raise it up. And then what you want to do, like we did before, is use your tape measure to make sure that the struts are the same length. What I might do is just measure from the top, just because it's got a little lip. I'll show you that lip. Up there, it's just got the lip, the silver lip there. I'll look it on there, measure from there. So it's currently at 21.7 centimeters, so 217 mil. You just want to basically keep adjusting until it fits perfectly through with the bolt. Once you've got that, you're all good. So once you're done adjusting, like I said, tighten by going clockwise. Now it's nice and tight. You want to reinstall the bolt down the bottom. I've already put it partially in, but we want to reinstall that. And then we'll do the other side, and it should be all ready to go. Pop the wheels back on. So both sides are all tightened up, and we are ready to pop the wheels on and see how they sit. Alright, last step, don't forget to torque down your wheels with a torque wrench. We are at 120 newton meters of torque, or about 88.5 foot-pounds. Cool, and we're back on the ground, we're all done. So I do want to make it a little lower than it's at now, but for now that's good enough. We'll adjust it later. And same with the front. I do want to make that a little lower as well, but I need to mess with the fender liner and stuff if I do want to go lower. But overall I think it looks pretty good.